Hey everyone, welcome back to Bear's Workshop. Today we're going to be putting this garage in a box round top together, and we're going to be storing our tractor in there so that it gets protected from the Arizona sun. Typically on these tractors the seats get destroyed sitting out in the sun, so I bought a $450 garage to protect the $450 seat, but also protect the rest of it from dry rot, the hoses, clamps, well, not the clamps, but hoses and any of the plastic parts. So this is just to protect the tractor from sitting out in the weather. This is a 12 by 20 by 8 canopy. We're going to do a time lapse going over putting it together. I'll talk over that and give you the different steps and things that we're coming along with on the way. And then at the end we'll do a quick summary of what we think of the canopy and how it's working out. So thanks for watching. Okay, so here's a time lapse of getting everything set up. We've already got the frames out. I'm reading the instructions because the instructions weren't so good. I just kept on having to refer back to them. Very short one-word statements or a couple-word statements trying to explain what to do. Also, we're going to notice Murphy's Law right here. You see those trees in the background? There's no wind whatsoever on those trees, nothing right now. But of course, I'm taking out a big tarp, putting up one side, which has the door in it. And as soon as I get ready to put that up, we get hit by a windstorm. A windstorm that lasted for 2 days. So you can see it coming up right here now with the time lapse. You see all the trees moving in the wind. And there goes the tarp. It's just going to fly until we can get it all fastened down. Just Murphy's Law, things like that happen. Got through it. But, you know, everything held together with this big sail on it as we're doing this. The instructions itself, I want to talk about that. They were not very good. There were a lot of sections where it's just, it didn't say take this part and go put this in this part and do this. Just had a lot of pictures and sentences with like 3 or 4 words describing what to do. So the instructions themselves were just very horrible. It's pretty typical from stuff like this, so I wasn't surprised. So we went ahead and we just kept putting things up, going over the instructions. I stared at the instructions more, probably spent more time looking at them than I did actually doing anything. Going back and forth, finding out you have to reconnect things to get everything going. So we got the back side of the tarp up. That's the door on the other side. Both sides have doors. And then at this point we tighten up all the bolts. So everything is tightened now. Looking at the side view, we're kind of looking at the doors, trying to figure out what to do, where they strap down. But again, it's just back to the instructions, which, as you can see, I keep looking at them, trying to figure out what's supposed to happen. So we end up, the next step here is to get this tarp, the big cover. We take that out, lay it out, and it's set up with some rope that you put through there and you pull over the side. We didn't record that just because the recording stopped, but we meant to. So with 2 people, you put the rope through the tarp, the big tarp, which we're going to lay out here in a second. You will see that, and then you just pull it over, and that worked fairly well. 2 people is enough to do it. 1 person could probably do it. It's just going to be more difficult. So after the tarp was laid out and put on, we went inside. Okay, so once inside, we have to put a bunch of poles through the bottom. You can see the green stripe. Poles fit through there. Then you use the brackets that are supplied and connect 2 brackets per pole, tighten everything in, and it will hold everything down. And it held everything down pretty sturdy. It was just a matter of getting all those in there. You know, this part probably only took like 15 minutes. Again, I'm just staring at the instructions. Right now I'm trying to figure out how to take care of these doors. The doors were a little weird. I didn't like the way it's set up. You have to cut through the canopy on the top and on the side and feed a rope through it. And I'm going to talk about a little bit more in the summary. It's not the best design, and it's very fearful. I'm very fearful that it'll rip in the future. But the design itself did kind of work, but it just wasn't great. Once all of these are fastened down, everything is taken care of, and everything was sturdy. Okay, so right now I'm on my phone and I'm trying to figure out this section right here. You have to do a self-tapping screw into a curved rail. That's where you tie your rope to when you raise the doors up. They could have punched some holes in there, but they didn't. They punched holes in everything else. Here we are getting the tractor in, making sure it fits. The clearance on that door was very tight. I shouldn't say tight, it's not like we had to squeeze it in there, but it was very low on the clearance, but it did fit. So everything works. Okay, so here's our completed product. I just want to talk about a couple things that I did not like about it. I'll talk about a couple things that I did. Let's start with a couple things that I did. It is fully enclosed. It does seem to be somewhat waterproof. We did hose it down. We didn't get any water inside, so that looks like it's good. It doesn't come all the way to the ground. I mean, it does, but it's not like it's sunk in. So if you have a lot of rain, water will seep into the bottom. I wasn't expecting that to be any different, though. The installation, you know, we've talked about it while we were doing the time lapse. It's not the greatest. It does get extremely hot inside. It's probably 90-95 degrees out, and it's like a hot box in there. They've got these two holes right here. I'm not sure what they're supposed to be, but if they're for ventilation, that's definitely not a lot, because there's two on each side, and you know, that's a ½ an inch hole, and that's not going to ventilate it. There's nowhere in the instructions does it say put anything in there or do anything with that. My two other complaints about this product is the bar. There's a bar that goes across the bottom here, and when you go through the opening, it gets in your way. It will trip you, or it prevents the door from swinging, but it's fixed on one side. And when you raise this up, which I'm going to show you in a minute, which has got to be the stupidest design I've ever seen, the bar has to be on the outside. So you got to move the bottom bar to the outside in order to roll this up. The way it rolls up, I don't think it's going to last. I think it's going to probably collapse at some point. But let me get inside and we'll show you how we roll this door up. Okay, so we're inside. We've gone ahead and we've put up both zippers. We've got the bars on the bottom here need to be on the outside of the plastic when you're pulling it up. Otherwise it will not roll, because it rolls up to the outside. So the idea here is you take this, I mean the system works. I shouldn't say it's the worst design ever, but when you start pulling it up, it starts rolling itself up like you would want it to, but it doesn't roll itself up evenly. And now we've got one side, it needs to be put on the other. Then you keep rolling it up. And once you've got it up as high as it will go, and that's about as high as it will go, you tie it up. And they give you way too much string. And you just end up tripping over it and getting knots in it, things like that. So we've got it up, it stays up, but then you got to kind of bunch it up on both sides, kind of tuck it in, because as you can see this tractor right here, is just barely low enough to get in. It did get in, but it fits, and it's just it's not great. The other problem, which I was talking about during the voice overlay, during the time lapse, is this is you have to cut into this plastic right here and here in order to hang these clips. On the other side, you have to cut on the opposite side and tie a knot around it. So my fear is that over time, as this cover starts to deteriorate, you're going to have issues with that just ripping further down. I don't think that's a great idea. I think there should have been a grommet that was built into it, sort of like the tiny little vent holes that they put in this door. Overall, it seems very sturdy. I mean, it still has a shake to it, but it's poles and screws and nuts. But I think it's going to hold up. They give you some really good stakes. The stakes are about this long, and that little flat disc so you can dig with it. and so they're about 2 feet long and they're down the ground. I don't think this is going to fly away. Of course, we got monsoon seasons coming in July, and if this flies away, I'll be pretty upset. But I think it's going to stay. I think it's going to be sturdy. It's going to stay. It's going to provide the adequate coverage and protection for the tractor, and I could probably get a couple more things in here. So overall, it's good. I don't like the door design. Everything else I do like. So right now I'm going to recommend this product. Got it at Tractor Supply, so that's where you're going to look for it. If there's any other issues that come up with maybe the stakes not holding in or some other things, you know, we'll update the video or update the comments. But thanks for watching. I will see you next time, and hit that like button and comment, okay? Thanks.